happens is that they have two different Treaty Tordesillas. That's why I gave you 2 dates. The second one pushed the line, what's called the line of demarcation, the line that cuts the world in half. They move it more over to the west, which is going to give Portugal, since they got the east, they push it more to the west, which is going to give Portugal. Because remember, Cristobal Colon is married to Portuguese royalty. He is a double agent for the Portuguese. The reason why he's working with the Spaniards is because they got the money, because the great majority of wealth of the Moors was in Spain and not Portugal. So he gets Spain to bankroll, but at the same time, he's giving Portugal information about this new so-called world. Now, we already know that Cristobal Colon knew about the American continent, because we find Cristobal Colon, Christopher Columbus, on the west coast of Africa, 1482, 10 years before 1492, he working with the Portuguese in Cape Verde and West Africa, because that's why so many Cape Verdeans speak Portuguese. And so Cristobal Colon is aware of America, but he wants to get some money so he can come here because he wants to become king of America. But he's double agent for the Portuguese. The Diary of Cristobal Colon. You should really read that, by John Boyd Thatcher. See, because I give you names, I give you books, because I want you to understand. I don't want you to believe me. I just want to make you think. And I want you to understand why people are telling you that they cannot come to the conclusions they need to, because the interpretations cannot be made. Yes, the interpretations can be made, but they're afraid of what the interpretations will reveal if they have to go back to Africa as the origin of all things and all places. John Boyd Thatcher was talking about Cristobal Colon was writing. When he was coming to America, he was passing Africans going back to Africa from America. And when he got here to America, the native indigenous people had a very special spearhead that was made from a very unique combination of silver, gold, and electrum. It was called guanin. And they called it guanin because of the kings of Ghana. They called it guanin because it was unique and it came from Africa. And the Native Americans told them that. And not only that, but when Cristobal Colon came here, he said that he saw people that were as well melanated, if they were more black in America than the Africans they passed going back to Africa. This is all recorded in history, but you got to look for it. But nobody want to look for it because everybody's afraid of what they're going to find if you have to tell the truth of exactly what happened. These were the Moors. There were many Africans on the boats that came to America. They don't tell you that. They leave this out of the history books to help us understand exactly who the Moors were and what the Moors did and how they came to this part of the world. And it was the Spaniards who were the first ones to come to this part of the world. And it was here that was embedded the legacy of the African tradition from the Moors, as the other countries of Europe, because England got it very upset. England said, well, who is the Pope to give half the world to Portugal and half the world to Spain? Who were they? Who had the authority to do that? And they said, well, the Pope. The Pope is the most important person in the world. Well, England said, well, I think we're going to change that. And so what did they do? Martin Luther created the Protestant movement. They were protesting the Pope giving land to the Spanish and the Portuguese. It had nothing to do with all that other stuff about getting married or divorced or whatever that stuff was. It had nothing to do with that. It had to do with the fact that now the other European countries wanted to get in on Africa, wanted to get in on America. And so they started a Protestant movement that became the Protestant religion. And what England did is they said, the Pope don't have no sway over us no more. We got the Archbishop of Canterbury. He's going to tell us. And that's when the Archbishop of Canterbury said, well, you have every right to go to America. You have every right to enslave Africans. Who is the Pope? I am in charge of this Anglican church. And I'm giving you permission to do what you have to do. So now here's where you start seeing the Spanish and the British and the French and everybody fighting each other over the prosperous of Africa, over the prosperous of coming to America. You have the French coming in, the Huguenots. You got the British coming in. You've got the Dutch coming in. You got the Dutch East India Company going to South Africa while the Dutch West Indian Company is coming to America, settling in a place where I come from, but then it was called New Amsterdam. The Dutch created New Amsterdam. Why? Because it was a new Amsterdam, Holland. And then British came in and said, well, I think I want some of this. And they had a war. They fought each other for a while, and then they made a deal. And the British owned Suriname, and the Dutch owned New York. And so they said, well, let's stop fighting each other. So what we're going to do is I'll give you the Dutch Suriname, and you give us New Amsterdam. So they made a trade. Then the British came to New Amsterdam, and they said, but we don't want that name Amsterdam, so we're going to change it. And we're going to name it after the Duke of York. And so they called it New York. And they took over Wall Street, all the trading down there, and all the other things going on. See, this is the history that's being left out.